The last part for week 2 for our Blackboard lesson is finding main ideas and supporting evidence. This is where we're going to locate information so that we can effectively write a summary based off of the article that we read last week for the perils and promises of praise. So it might be a good idea at this very moment to just pause this, go and retrieve your thieves assignment for the perils and promises of praise, as well as the annotation of the article that you've done. These pieces, you've already read the article, you've done pre-reading strategy, as well as a during reading strategy, so this is not a brand new reading assignment. But after we've read and annotated to record our reactions and questions, it's now time to identify the main idea and support in the reading. Well-constructed readings generally have one main idea and support for that idea. Marking these elements in the text as you read will actually help you to understand the text better and be able to recall it effectively later on. An experienced college reader can probably record reactions, ask questions, and read for the main ideas, all at the same time. However, for the next step, as we go through this particular PowerPoint, which is very brief, I'm going to show you how to be able to find the main idea of an article. You've got to be able to find that one central point. What is the overall point that the author is trying to get across? And further, whatever that point may be that the author is trying to get across to you, you have to be able to find the evidence, the support. And this is further important to know because the author is trying to prove and develop that main idea. So within the Blackboard lesson itself, I've actually attached textbook information. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through, and there are several pages, and it gives you examples that are specifically directly related to the perils and promises of praise. I want you to read the pages 25 through 29. This looks at, what is the main idea? How do we know where to find it? What is support? An extremely important part is how do you be able to find the thesis, the major points, and the support in an essay or article. It gives you specific steps, as we see here on the slide, to, how do we locate the thesis? How do we find the major points? By looking at the structure of the reading. This is really where you're going to take a look at that thieves pre-reading strategy and then the sections and the headings that Carol Dweck used inside of that article. Using those particular sections and headings to find the major points by looking at the structure of the reading. We've already done that thieves strategy, so that's just pulling it back out and taking a look. Then you're going to look and read about the step 3. This is where you're finding the main idea by figuring out the main points of each paragraph. And it gives you an example when you're looking at the section of fixed or malleable. It actually gives you annotated pieces from the text that possibly you have already connected with also. Step 4, you'll look at finding the support. Again, it gives you paragraphs and underlined evidence and examples. Similarly, when you're reading and continuing to develop your reading strategies of annotating text, you'll become better versed, and your ability to be able to use this particular strategy will grow. So you have to find the support. And the last part, you're going to check for accuracy. As you've gone through these steps, you're going to be able to look back at your answers to compare and comprehend and discuss, what you've read. Does it make sense? Perhaps you're able to look at some other entries or YouTube videos that exist for Carol Dweck. I know last week I put a particular YouTube video. Does what she's saying in that video, does its information kind of match what you have found to be the thesis, the major points, the main ideas, the evidence, and as you've gone back to make sure that you fully understand? These are extremely important to make sure that you've got these pieces. So as you've gone through, you've read pages 25 through 29. This is inside of a PDF document inside of the Blackboard lesson. You've got to read these. After you've read those pieces and you've gotten more information, you're going to stop and you're going to actually get into this Microsoft Word document. And what you're supposed to do in this particular document is going to help you when you write your summary for me, which is going to be the next step after this. But the instructions say, follow the steps provided in the text information. That's that textbook information I've given you about the steps, about finding main ideas and supporting evidence so that you can find the thesis and the main points of the perils and promises of praise. So here, we're going to chart out our main idea and support. So you need to locate the thesis. I'll give you a strong hint. Many a times in the introduction paragraph or introduction section, most authors will usually use their last sentence or sentences as their thesis. They want to prep the reader for what will be given out as they go through the following sections or paragraphs. So go back to your article and be able to find this thesis. As an example, I'll go in and I'll find, let me get my article open, and we'll find the thesis together. Okay. So here, you should already have your article. It should already be annotated. You've done all this last week. So here is the whole introduction section. It just wasn't one paragraph that Carol Dweck wrote for the Perils and Promises of Praise. She actually wrote an entire section because, of course, her article was fairly lengthy. For Microsoft Word, it was 6 pages long. So after I've read this, remember, I'm going to go and I've read all this already, but most of the important information that's preparing me for the following sections is going to be found in this last paragraph. As a psychologist, I've studied student motivation for more than 35 years. Of course, that's Carol Dweck speaking. My graduate students and I have looked at thousands of children, asking why some enjoy learning, even why it's hard, and why they are resilient in the face of obstacles. We've learned a great deal. Research shows us how to praise students in ways that yield motivation and resilience. In addition, specific interventions can reverse a student's slide into failure during the vulnerable period of adolescence. If out of the entire introduction section that I've read, I would probably really say that the last 2 sentences of this particular paragraph that I just read are likely the most concise and brief thesis and the central point of the entire article that she wrote. So for my charting idea, I'm going to come in here, kind of cheat for a moment, I'm going to copy and paste it. Sometimes it's easier. All right, so there's my thesis. I've got it. Remember, this is we're just charting our information to outline because you're going to go into a summary here in a moment. So the main point of the fixed or malleable section. Remember, what does malleable mean? If I had to make a comment, if you don't know by now, it means flexible. All right, it means flexible. All right, so I'm just making that own comment for myself because I think I need that just to remember. So I've already given you what the main point of fixed or malleable section is. It says some students believe intelligence is fixed, but others believe that intelligence can grow and be developed. All right, so this is in my own words. Usually you might look for a topic sentence, the main point of the entire section. So the whole section of fixed or malleable, it's right here. All right, that's that whole section because it's underneath this heading, this bolded heading. Once I get to the 2 phases of effort, it's a totally different section, okay? So you need to go through and you need to give, what's the main point of the 2 phases of effort? Okay, so that section goes from here and it goes to here. So read from here to here, review your notes. What is the author trying to state in this particular section? And put that here. Then the effects of praise, same thing. You'll go through each of the sections. After you finish, you need to compare your ideas with a classmate. Well, you don't really have that option. So you might just go through your notes and do the recordings on your notes and your thoughts. Do they kind of compare with what you feel are the main points here? After you've finished charting your main ideas and support, save it. And make sure you send it to me. I'm wanting you to send it to me so you can show that you've gone through the effort of charting, identifying main ideas, and support. If you're able to locate these pieces here, remember, we are establishing those connections within our brain of repetition, because this is not the only time. I promise you will be charting main ideas and locating these pieces in next week's assignment. I'm trying to get you used to doing these processes so that as you approach the TSI test, you approach your first college level course, whether it be English, whether it be reading, writing, government, anything of those classes, those pieces itself, that you're able to read those textbooks and further be able to identify the main ideas and the evidence that they use to support it, okay? So don't forget to send this to me. This is part of the assignment. I'm going to exit out of this. All right, so as we go on, the last part, and also within that text information on pages 29 through 31, what I'm wanting you to do, again, we're focusing on the perils and promises of praise. Students are going to write a 300-word summary of the article. You know, being able to summarize a text that you've read or a presentation that you've seen or anything else that you've done in any college level coursework, it's actually really one of the most fundamental skills that you're going to learn, because many times you'll go into, you know, your college level class and you've had to read something and they've asked you to summarize that. I cannot tell you how many times I've done that as an undergraduate student. So it's extremely important that you take that charting main idea and supporting information that you just did just a moment ago and you submitted to me, and you use that. So here are several steps that are inside of pages 29 through 31. It gives you, how do you write that summary? Look at your annotation. Well, you've already done this. Go back and review your notes. You just did it a moment ago. Look at the list of all key terms. All right, so in Dweck's article, it talks about a fixed mindset, a growth mindset, resilience, motivation, praise. These are all words that the author uses over and over and over again. And I think it holds some importance that she keeps beating us as the reader in the head with these terms. So it's extremely important we know this. Draft a summary of the central idea and main points. Well, the task we did just a moment ago has already drafted some information, and now we just need to get it into a rough draft, that 300-word summary of the article. Write an introductory sentence. It even gives you an example in that text of what it might look like. Please don't use the same exact example. I've read this example in the book, and if yours looks exactly the same, I think I'm going to know that. So I want you to be creative and be original. But still watch out and make sure that after you finish that 300-word summary of the article, please go back and reread and make grammatical revisions. Make sure you have subjects and verbs. Make sure you have complete thoughts as sentences. Make sure you've got punctuation and capitalization and correct spelling. If you're using Microsoft Word, the actual program itself will help you identify where you've got errors. All right, so this is extremely important. Many college professors are not going to give it back to you to make revisions. If you make grammatical and structural errors, they're going to just give it back to you with diminished points. Many times 20% of your grade can be lost because you did not go back and revise and edit. So at this point in this particular lesson, first, as we've gone through the pieces, you've read some text information that's inside of the blackboard. It shows there. It's connected to the lesson. All right? You've done that charting of your main idea and supporting evidence. So you've got that in front of your face, and we've kind of did some of it together. And the last part is you're writing a 300-word summary of the article. This is a reading and writing class, so we're getting into the habit of doing all of this together. All right? Just making connections. If you have any questions or any concerns, please contact me, and I hope you have a great day.